So after we have our holes cut out of our design where our negative spaces are, we are going to start cutting out from the littlest spaces first. The littlest spaces are going to be the places that bend the most. So it's best to have as much structure surrounding our shape as possible. So you thread your saw blade through, and again, make sure that your saw blade is going the correct way with the serrated edges facing downwards instead of upwards. I'm lowering the arm on my saw frame, tightening that for now, loosening the wing nut, sliding that blade in, and I missed because I wasn't looking, and then tighten that up. So right now, my blade is really wiggly and it should be tighter than that. So I'm just loosening it up at the bottom with that wing nut and tightening it by applying pressure with my thumb and tightening it. And now it's not moving anymore. You don't want it to be too tight that it breaks. So at this point now, I have a hole, and my hole's a little bit bigger than what my original design was. So I'm making sure that my fingers are nowhere near the blade. I'm gonna go up first, and then I'm going to start going down. Now this already loosened up. That could be because I was afraid to tighten it too tight. So now I'm really gonna put it on there. Or the screw is stripped. These are older saw blades that we're working with in my classroom. So it happens. Make sure that your saw frame is straight up and down, and that when you are sawing, you are not sawing too quickly. It's harder to make these turns. And I'm rotating the saw frame to get in that angle. Make sure that you're not cutting towards your finger. Always be keeping your fingers farther away from the saw blade. And I'm blowing off that dust as I go, checking on the backside, making sure I didn't go all the way through. Again, this is a little too wiggly for my liking, and I need to keep tightening it. These are older in my classroom, and I did order some new ones, but the screw is just stripped. So that's going to be an annoying thing that keeps happening. But once I have that part cut out, I'm going to take my blade out of here, and then I'm going to string it through. I know what happened. A kid was using this saw blade, and then they kept saying, it keeps coming out. And I said, use mine. Mine works so nice. And then they took the one that I liked. So as you continue to tighten it, make sure that you have it laying on your thigh maybe. That might be an easier way for you to see where the saw blade screws in at. And then again, I'm going to tighten it. And it's going to get loose again because apparently this one is stripped. I should write that on the side here, but it's decent for now. And since I'm not cutting that much, it's okay. So these little areas are really small. So one thing that we can do, and it's smaller, is we put it closer to the V in the bench pin. And we can do little strokes. If you do really long strokes, all those blades are going to go all the way down into that area. And I've already messed up on my first piece before by just continuing to doing long strokes, and I didn't realize that I was starting to cut through my design. So short ones, and looking at your design where the lines are at. And before you start to do your turn, that's when we need to make sure that our line hasn't gone too far into that design. So I'm going to continue to do this and record it, but I am going to switch out my blade because this is really freaking annoying me. And then I'll continue the video demo. So that should just slide out, and we're able to start cutting our design. Again, we're cutting the smallest places first. I darkened all the areas that are going to be copper with pencil, and then everything that is going to be cut out is white, and it will look like this in the future. So I can see that my mistakes were difficult because I cut through that edge right here. You can see it starting to come apart, which really sucked. And I lost a chunk right there. So this is what I'm talking about here. We're going into this circle. There's a little line. You can kind of see it. I was sawing really long strokes, and I just kept going without looking, and I almost cut straight into that circle. So I am going to do it again because this does become very structurally unsound, and I need it to be nice. But this is my first example on showing us how to be a little bit more careful.